Hi there! For those of you who don't know me, I'm Willow Winters, romance suspense author, and I'm here to do a Q&A that Heather sent me from Audio Loves, and I'm excited to do it. This is now my third attempt at doing it because my dogs keep interrupting me, and I've just decided that if they interrupt me again, I'll just have to take a little break, and then I'll get back to the questions. Okay, so question number one is, how did you become an author? And that's something I ask myself all the time because this was something I never even dared to dream. I didn't really think it was a possibility. But when I was pregnant with my little girl, who's now 1.5, I was reading romance novels daily, 1 or 2 a day, if not more. And I was just a romance lover, and when she was born, I didn't want to read anymore. I wanted to write, and I was staying up very late at night with her on my chest and my laptop in my lap, and I just decided to go ahead and write. So it just happened about 1.5 years ago because my little girl was born and she kept me up late at night. So that's how I became an author. Which influences your writing more, people or life events? Not so much life events. I think it's what people say. Like if I'm somewhere and somebody says something that strikes me in a certain way, that's very inspirational. And right now I can't think of anything in particular, but words have a lot of strength to them. And I like picking up on that and being inspired by what people say and how they say it. I think I think words are very powerful. Number 3, if you could have lunch with any author, alive or dead, who would it be? I was just talking about Sylvia Day. Who was it that somebody was in my group and they were, I posted something, the Passion Flicks. She's doing Passion Flicks right now for her series. And somebody posted that they just had lunch with her, and I was so jealous. I would love to have lunch with her. I read the Crossfire series. I love her. I've heard nothing but good things about her and that she's super sweet. So that would make me really happy. I would love to have lunch with her. Number 4, if you could take a writing vacation, where would it be and who would you take? I would go back to Alaska. I just took a cruise to Alaska, and I was so inspired. It was just a cruise though, and I had my babies with me, and I did do a little bit of writing, and I got inspired to write a novella called Infatuation, which will be released soon. I have an announcement that's coming up about that, because it's more than, and I'm going to be quiet so that I don't give anything away. But yeah, I would go back to Alaska in a heartbeat. I would take my husband with me, and I love my babies, but maybe it could be just a mommy and daddy trip, because it would be wonderful to go there and just relax. The scenery is gorgeous. I loved Alaska, especially Ketchikan. Ketchikan was beautiful. Number 5, how and where do you find inspiration for your books? I have no idea. I just lay down at night a lot of times and they just come to me. Alaska, it was obviously the scenery. Also, we had to take a plane there to Seattle. And because I'm a romance lover, the one thing I know about Seattle, this is awful to say the one thing. I know many things about Seattle, but something that kept popping into my head is Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Like, this is the setting. And when we landed, looking out of the window, like, it was gorgeous. I usually see Philadelphia, which is like strips of lights, and it's very organized, and it almost looked like jewelry, the way that the lights were. And I don't know why, if it was trees or what it was, but it looked like we were landing on like crusted jewelry. It was so beautiful. And then it wasn't very foggy, but I kept seeing, like, looking up and being like, I can like see what they were saying in both of the Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey series. So I was very inspired by that. And so going to Alaska, obviously I was already in the mindset. What was the question? Oh, so obviously I got inspired by that. But other than that, I go to bed at night and the stories just come. Number 6, do you research locations? Only so much so that I have to. I don't like getting bogged down by research. And in the first series I ever wrote, I didn't even give a location because I didn't want research to dictate how I was going to write the book. I didn't want to have to dig and find, what is this store called and what is this street name called, and I didn't want those details to take away from my muse and the inspiration that I had to write it. So I don't do a ton of research, but I do what's necessary. And a lot of times I'll put in parentheses, expensive restaurant that's 20 minutes away. Like for The Sins and Secrets, where it's the setting is New York, I made sure to research things, but I did it after I was done writing because I didn't want it to interrupt my flow, and I didn't want it to become so important that it changed my mindset as I was writing. So I do research, but I do it afterwards if I have to. Do you have writing rituals that you do before, after, or during? Coffee is one. And this is my Seattle mug. One of them. I picked up two while I was there. So coffee. I obviously need coffee. I have two little kids, and I wait until after they're in bed to write mostly. So I do some business stuff during the day, like emails, looking up swag, looking up cover models, going over all these little details of self-publishing as opposed to the author side of it. So business during the day, and then I write at night. I put earplugs in, even though it's very quiet because the kids are asleep and I can still hear, but there's something about putting earplugs in where it feels different and sound is different and it gets me in the right mindset. So earplugs, coffee, and I'm good to go. That's my ritual. And I usually write till like sometimes 3, 4, 5 in the morning. So those days hubby gets up with the littles. And 8, what is your typical writing day? That's what it is. I wait till after the kids are in bed. I get my earplugs, my coffee, and I just write straight through. I like doing sprints. So I do like a 25-minute and then a 5 to 10 minute break, and then I go back in. Although recently I've been doing on the hour. So as soon as it hits 00, I go in and I don't time it and I just write what I'm feeling. And then once I'm done, I'm done. But as soon as it hits 00 again, I need to go back in. And that's been working really well too. How long does it normally take you to write a book? That's a good question. The fastest one I ever wrote was Bad Girl, which is now called Rough Touch, and it only took me 9 days to write that book by myself. My books are about 50,000 to 60,000 words, so they're not huge novels, but they are novels. But when I co-wrote with Lauren, Vivian, and BB, it was like 5 to 6 days. Once we had our outline done, we could literally like bang it out super quick. The book that I'm writing now, Forget Me Not, took a little bit over 3 weeks, and I still have to do the read-through, so that kind of counts as writing. It actually counts a lot as writing, because a lot of times I don't add details. Like in Imperfect, I had a scene where all of the women are together in the restaurant, and I was doing my read-through. I didn't describe a single one of the other women. Not at all. Like I had their personalities there with what they were drinking and what they were saying, and in my head, they looked a certain way. But when I did my read-through, I had 0 descriptions about them at all. So that definitely counts as writing. The read-through does. So technically, I'm still writing Forget Me Not until I finish this read-through. But yes, typically just a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I aim for a novel a month, which is a lot to write, but I do write quickly. So in that 25-minute sprint, I'll generally get about 1,000 words. And if it's 50 to 60,000 words, that's a maximum of 60 sprints. So whatever that math is. How many times have you scrapped a book? That's like a sin. I've never scrapped a book. I have one book that I started that's on hold. It's Clara's story from the Vallettis. It's a spin-off into the Marianis with her boyfriend, Johnny. And it's just on hold because once I start a series, I like to keep it going. And I don't have any other stories in my head or any of the other men in the familia. So that one's on hold. But I've never scrapped a book. I don't even like scrapping words. I think that they come out a certain way for a reason, and unless my story has changed, there's no reason to scrap them. Imperfect didn't start as a duet, so I did need to change the beginning and the ending of that book. Once I realized it was going to be a duet, I actually write when I write a novel, I'll write the beginning part, and then I'll write the ending before I write the middle. So I had 2 chapters done in the beginning and 2 chapters done at the end. And I had to go through and like completely rewrite things. I did scrap a lot of the ending, but I've never scrapped an entire book. I think you write words for a reason. So it's just a matter of figuring out what that story is and what you're really trying to say. Do you have a playlist when you write? Nope. Earplugs all the way. I can't do it with music. I couldn't even do it with Brain.fm. It's like a radio that's supposed to help you concentrate. I couldn't do it. I need earplugs. What music do you listen to for inspiration when you are developing a story and writing it? I like listening to Carrie Underwood's storytelling. I think it's Storytelling is the album that she has some tracks on. I love listening to them just because there's a lot of emotion with very few words and a lot of story with very few words, and I like them. They also have a little bit of a darkness and strength to them, like Toy Guns is one of my favorite little toy guns, which is about how powerful words can be. So that's the music that I like listening to. How many edits do you go through? I have 3 editors. So the first one is kind of like a beta editor who focuses on continuity errors. And then I have another one that's a content editor to make sure that I got everything correct. And then I have another one that is a more of a proofreader. So 3 edits, which is tiring and takes up more time than I like to believe it does. How many drinks does it take to write some of those sex tactic scenes? I don't drink when I write because, I don't know, it's just a different mindset and I'm more relaxed, but my books are not relaxed. They're very intense, so I don't drink at all. I like to drink afterwards, though. A nice glass of Cabernet is always nice. Who is your favorite character? You can only pick one and why. What? Picking one is like asking which one of my children is my favorite. Wow. If I had to pick, okay, from somebody else's book, I'm going to say Twitch from Raw, which is written by Belle Aurora. And he's my favorite because he surprised me the most. He is a bad boy through and through. The entire, like, his character and character development just struck me very hard. And I loved the book. I loved him. So I'm going to choose him. And I'm surprised I could choose a single character. That's odd for me. And obviously, if I thought long and hard about it, other ones would come up and compete with him. Not even long and hard. Like right now, they're already coming up. But Heather said one, so Twitch it is. Which was your most emotional book to write? Probably the one that I'm writing now, Forget Me Not. If not that one, then Bad Boy from the Valetti series. I cried through both of them. Also, Burned Promises is another one that I cried through. They're very, I like focusing on emotion. I like to write with emotion, and my goal is to make a reader feel. That's what the goal of all of my books are. I just want the reader to feel what I'm feeling and to feel for the characters. So those are definitely up there. Those 3. Broken is too, but that's more of like an intense, it's hard to describe. Yeah, so one of those. Do you get emotional when writing? Yes, I do. And yes, it is hard to, the other question is it hard to let go of characters? It's very hard for me to let go of characters. Imperfect was the most difficult, and I think that's because it was a duet, so it was long. I took more time writing their story. But I get very emotional. I have literally written scenes while I'm crying, and my thought process is, I just need to get these words out so that I don't have to cry anymore about this particular scene. So yeah, I do get very, very emotional. I'm not like grinning and thinking, oh, I'm really going to get them. It gets to me too. It does. What book was the most fun to write? Probably Knocking Boots, the one that I wrote with Vivian Wood. It's the second one I wrote with her. And it's about like a sexy bartender who's getting over his own issues and everything. But it was a lot of fun to write because, you know, writing with Vivian was very fun. She's like easygoing, and she has a sense of humor to her that definitely alters the way that I write. So I really enjoyed writing that one. I'm also writing a kind of like, it's not really a rom-com, it's just a contemporary romance that's on the side of like chick lit right now, which is a lot of fun to write. So I'm enjoying that one too. It's difficult going from a dark, intense book to a lighthearted book with humor in it. Just because my mindset sometimes, it's more difficult to switch voices. How do you choose narrators for your books? Audible does my audiobooks for me. So they send me suggestions and I just have to listen, and if I'm vibing their voice, then I give the okay. So Audible has actually chosen them, and then I've just agreed to them once I've heard their selections. And I love all of my narrators. They've done a fabulous job. Question 20, so only 2 left. What do you do to celebrate after you finish a book or a series? I get a pedicure. I have a glass of wine almost, not every night. That sounded bad. That sounded really bad. I wish I could just erase this, the last 2 seconds. I have a glass of wine to help me wind down from a book, but after I finish a novel, I go get a pedicure, and I finished Forget Me Not the other day, like 2 days ago, and I'm my kids are home. Let me do the last one. So I get a pedicure. 21, do you listen to audios? And if you do, which are your favorite books? I do right now Indebted series from Pepper Winters, and she's an author that I love too. So yes, and Pepper Winters, but I don't listen as much as I should, and I don't read as much as I should either. It's been different now that I'm focusing on writing so much and so frequently. My kids are home with my husband, so I have to go. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you later, and I will respond to questions below.